pride, passion, and pageantry of college football lives here. This is the Paul Finebaum Show, Hour 4 podcast.
This might be college football heaven.
Back, final hour of the program, and who better to begin the final hour? Legend is next. Legend. Let me say it again. Legend is next.
I need more cowbell. What this show needs is more cowbell.
You better believe it.
I must have more cowbell. That's one of my favorite Saturday Night Live skits.
That is one of the all-timers.
Will Ferrell and Kristen Walken in it. I need
Hey, did you
cowbell.
did you ever see, I think it was 2014, 15, whatever year it was, the skit that we did at Starkville that I did I reprised the Will Ferrell character, and Dak Prescott was who did he play in that? He played the
Kristen Walken.
Yeah, it was really funny. It's still on YouTube, but I mean, Dak really got into it.
Man, I love that skit. I need more cowbell. What Finebaum needs is more cowbell. I say that to say this. I was really impressed with Mississippi State last night. Chris Jans is I think is one of the most underrated coaches in the SEC. The only thing about him is every time you watch him on the sideline, he looks constipated, like he can't squeeze one out or something. It's
yeah, I never thought about that, but I'll make sure the stool softener companies give him a call.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, that's a great win for that team, man. And what can you say about Josh Hubbard, man? That dude is a straight baller, man. Mississippi State is a interesting team for sure. Big game for Alabama tonight, baby. Big game for Alabama. Need a bounce-back win, Paul. We need a bounce-back win, baby.
Well, I know that you have. I know Mark Sears.
Missouri picked earlier. Did I hear that right?
What was that?
Sound like you had Missouri. You was riding with Missouri earlier. Did I hear that right?
Well, I was waiting for you to call in to give me the Legends tip of the night.
Well, ride with Alabama, baby. We bounced back big after a loss. We knew this one right here. From all indications I'm hearing down there, they're going to make a lineup change tonight and bring Finebaum back to the starting lineup. So I think they got the message. Nate Oates, man, Nate Oates is a hardcore coach. He don't like losing. So I look for a big bounce back tonight. It's a good Missouri team. I mean, if you look at Missouri, they probably one of the best stories of the whole college basketball season, man. I mean, they didn't even win a game last year, I don't think. I think it was like South Carolina in the SEC last year, you know. So, and then they got a guy named Grill that can shoot the three-pointer. I think that's so cool when you got a guy shooting a three-pointer named Grill. Grill from deep. Well done. I love it. I mean, that guy's got a name right there, man. But we're going to bounce back and beat Missouri's ass tonight.
I just want you to know, Legend, John from Missouri is next, so I'm sure he'll have a differing view.
Well, you know, John, you know, he got too much on his mind already. He drinks too much coffee, and that goes to his head. But a great season for John in Missouri down there. But we get down there, we're going to beat that ass tonight. Let me say this and get off and let John have it, Paul, about this college football thing and 14 teams or 16 teams. Let me say this right here. It's just too long, man. It's just too long. Nobody wants a month and a half long playoff, man. Come on. We're going to lose interest in that crap after a while. You need to start playing on the Army-Navy Day. You need to figure out how to shorten this thing down some. It's just too long, man. It's just too long. Legend has left the building.
John, what about it?
Hello, Paul. My name is John. I'm from St. Louis. How are you?
We bien.
I just rolled into Columbia, Missouri, and I'm down here at Shakespeare's Pizzeria.
Oh, I've been there. That's a good place.
Yeah, I'm not eating pizza. You know, I'm drinking cold Budweiser. Anyway,
okay.
Paul, real quick here, I'm not going to keep you very long, but I'll segue into Legends comments. But you mentioned Pollyanna earlier.
Correct.
And who was Pollyanna, Paul?
Oh my goodness, we got to go down this road. Pollyanna was a film many years ago. It's about someone who is excessively cheerful and optimistic when maybe they shouldn't be.
Well, I remember those movies when I was a teenager from the early 60s. Do you want me to tell you who Pollyanna was and who produced the film?
I really don't have any recollection of the actual person, but I know the phrase. So clue me in.
The Pollyanna movies were Haley Mills.
Oh my goodness, Haley Mills, a great actress of that era.
Yes, and John Mills, her father, was the producer, and sometimes he would participate and be in the movies, Paul.
I didn't know that.
But anyway, before I move on to Legend, I want to make a couple of comments real quick here about we haven't heard from William from Tennessee lately, have we, Paul?
Well, no, we have not.
William, you're a really great caller, and you need to call in more. I like your sunglasses. You remind me of Stonewall Jackson. And William, I think you would know this. Are you from around the Stones River or Murfreesboro Civil War?
No, he is not. He lives in Maryville, which is right outside of Knoxville.
No, Paul. He told me he was from Stones River.
Listen, if you want to talk to him, I can connect you guys.
Well, we'll talk later. But anyway, now I want to segue.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the game tonight. I think Missouri's chances are probably less than 50%. I agree, because you have a really great team of these cats coming in here to Mizzou Arena, and they have a lot on the line. But I can tell you right now, Missouri's a very proud team, Paul, and they have a fine, upstanding young coach named Mr. Dennis Gates.
Yes.
And I think Coach Dennis Gates has a lot to prove tonight. And I think if the Tigers win tonight, then you need to have Coach Gates on tomorrow.
Well, I would be delighted. I've told you this before, John. I'm a big fan of Coach Gates. So we will have Coach Gates on tomorrow if the Tigers win. Right now, we go to Daryl, who is up next.
Come on, Paul.
Daryl?
I want to disagree with Legend. I'll take all the college football I can get. But I'm not going to pay for it. I mean, why should I? The only games I watch really are the big games anyway. All the rest of them I listen to on the radio. But let me ask you this, Paul. Why do they need my money? I mean, these colleges got plenty of money. Look at Auburn. I mean, if you sit there and you pay Gus Malzahn's contract still, and you can play Horace's contract, and you can hire another coach to pay his contract, they got plenty of money, Paul. Why do they need my money? I mean, plenty of money. I just, I'm not going to pay to watch the football game. I will listen to it on the radio. I'm not going to do it. I mean, it just will not happen.
Well, listen, Daryl, that is certainly your prerogative, but ultimately, a lot of people will pay. That's been proven over and over.
Well, they might. I won't be one of them. Paul, as far as the basketball goes, I mean, is there really any big games anymore with the tournament, with the field being 64? I mean, it ain't like college football, 1 loss, 2 losses.
Yeah, Daryl, I mean, I hate to break in with the truth here, but we just had the biggest game in the year the other day in Alabama, and it was the most watched game. So, yeah, there are big games.
Well, it ain't like Auburn beat North Carolina or Duke or something.
Well, you're right. You're right. They actually beat someone who's good because North Carolina sucks right now, Daryl.
Yeah, but they got a lot of
Alabama went to North Carolina in December. I hate to give you an education, and beat them like a drum.
All right, I got a bone to pick with you real quick.
Go ahead.
I heard you were talking bad about Mike Bobo.
That is accurate.
Paul, when are people going to realize that? I mean, every year, Paul, the rosters change. Maybe Georgia just wasn't as talented as they had been in the past. That's not only offensive coordinator. That's just the way it is. I mean, I don't see why everybody wants to come down on Mike Bobo or something like that when the talent is not. It wasn't like what Georgia had when they won those 2 national titles. It just happened. That's just part of it. But I mean, I don't see. I agree with Kirby Smart. We're still going to the same place we called when Monken was there. We just don't. Kirby ain't gonna come out and say we just don't have the talent, but it's true. We just don't have the talent that we had in the past. And I'll be straight honest with you. This coming up season for Georgia, Paul, I can see Georgia losing 3 to 4 games easily. I can see Auburn beating us, maybe Florida, maybe Georgia Tech. I mean, we just don't have the talent right now that we've had in the past. We'll get it again, but I just don't understand the hating on Mike Bobo when he's proven that he's a good offensive coordinator. When he was under Rick, they said they rewrote the record books at Georgia.
Daryl, I've heard all that, but I've watched him lately, and I gave my opinion yesterday. I don't need to give it again. Hey, thank you for the call. Do appreciate it. Why don't we go to the Zoom quickly here before the break? Jeff is up next. Hey, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Paul. How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my Zoom call. How's the weather down there?
Cold and snowy.
Cold and snowy. Cold and snowy here too, 10 degrees. Gets me in the mood for some clam chowder. Have you, you were talking to a caller from Rhode Island last week, and you seemed interested in if he had been to Newport lately. And it really had my interest because I love that place. Have you been to Newport lately?
Yes. My wife and I went to Newport last July. We were there for July 4th. And I'd been to Providence before. I had a friend in college who lived in Providence, so I've been there, but I'd never been to Newport. I was blown away by it.
Is it your first time?
Yes.
Newport Naval Station is there, so I had a number of occasions to go there. But since you've been there recently, is the Black Pearl still there?
Yeah, I saw the naval station. So the Black what?
The Black Pearl.
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, it's a little place right there with the piers, with the yachts are all.
What I did remember though, we ran into some people who had a house right down by the ocean, and they invited us to come watch the fireworks, and we were sitting outside on their roof. It's at 8 o'clock at night on July 4th, usually a pretty hot time to be anywhere. It was so cold, the guy had to go in and loan me his winter coat. That's how the weather up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I like this place in the daytime, but I don't want to be cold on what should be the hottest night of the year.
Well, it gets like that in Newport. But anyway, the Black Pearl is kind of world famous for its clam chowder.
Well, I
anyway,
did. I mean, it may still be there. We did eat a lot of places. We went by the church where Jacqueline Bouvier married John. I thought it was really great. Hey, thanks for the call. We're up against the break. We are coming back. You ever been to Newport, Randy? Let's go. Got the bus outside. We're on our way. We're coming right back.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Let's go to Brad up next in Macon in the Zoom. Hello, Brad.
Mr. Paul, word on the street is you were doing business on Peachtree Street yesterday.
You heard about that, huh?
I did. I stumbled on it and checked it out. And, I couldn't agree with you anymore. I mean, you were dead on the money. And Bobo the Bozo, like this guy from Atlanta called in earlier talking about we had hurt players and this and that. Well, let me tell you something, brother. We're deep at Georgia. We got a lot of players. And the reason we lost games is because we did like a little toss sweep kind of thing in the SEC championship game against Alabama and gave it to them out of the goal line. Bobo the Bozo. This year against Notre Dame, instead of going to the locker room down 3-0, we give away 10 points in less than 30 seconds. Bobo the Bozo. The moment is too big for him. And Paul, you were spot on, brother.
Appreciate that. Apparently Daryl didn't like it, but you know what? I was asked a question yesterday in Atlanta. I gave the answer.
Well, Daryl is knowledgeable about football. I do respect Daryl and his service to this country. He does know ball. I mean, Daryl's a good caller and he knows ball, but we just have a disagreement. You know, Bobo the Bozo in regular games could be fine, but when it's crunch time and it's time to call the plays in playoff games, and the moment's too big for him. And this guy from Atlanta that called in, if you think Mike Bobo's the best Georgia can get, you are truly mistaken. But hey, Paul, remember you said something a while ago about this is the new SEC. You don't get walked to class anymore.
Right.
Now I know how Andy Staples feels. He's been walking Ari Wasserman to class for the better part of a decade.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, you can do whatever you want with Staples and Wasserman, but we're done. We're done with those guys.
Yeah, man, they can't keep up with the Paul Finebaum show. You know what I mean? This is the true proven product right here, Paul. And I mean, you're the godfather of college football, and your show is unique, nothing else like it. And you know, you're just the man.
Well, thank you very much for that. I feel secure with your endorsement there. Appreciate the call. Let's move on, Brad. Thank you for the call. And another guy we're pretty fond of here, the one and only Handsome Joe.
Roll Tide Roll, Paul Finebaum. You know what? Hey, Brad's looking good there, Paul. And I got me a better device. Now, I was going to Zoom call, but I ain't shaved. I ain't clean face like Brad is there. So, you know, I got whiskers. In fact, I've half shaved. I was just in the middle of shaving right now. But, you know, Paul, the way that, you know, these callers is calling in all these different scenarios as far as playoffs and how many teams get automatic bids. I mean, just imagine what these commissioners and ADs in there talking about. I mean, right. Because it's got to be good. And when you went to commercial, I guess it was about 2 hours ago maybe, I switched over to Fox News and Will Cain's show had Kalen DeBoer on there.
Really?
And he was asking him what your show's about today, about these getting together in the 4 automatic bids, SEC and the Big Ten. And they asked Kalen DeBoer what he thought about it. Would that help Alabama? And I like Kalen DeBoer's answer. He said, I was just disappointed we didn't do enough to get in last year. It wouldn't have mattered how many. I mean, we just didn't we wasn't playing good last year. And Kalen DeBoer told Will Cain that he said, like a year ago now, he said, I still had 3 more, you know, assistant coaches to hire. This year, it just seems more, you know, everything's more put in place. So that kind of makes me feel a little bit better there. And they were talking about the series on Fox Nation, the Tides that bind,
right.
Inside Alabama football. And that was, you know, I don't got Fox Nation, but I would love to see that, you know, back a few years ago.
Yeah, we actually have the producer of that on tomorrow, Caleb Castile.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that, Paul, because that just sounds interesting. In fact, I wish more football programs would do this, you know, look inside their program. I'd like to see one about Georgia, too. But, you know, a few years ago, they had Rolling with the Tide, and I was actually in episode 2 a couple of times.
Were you really?
So, yeah, I was. How I got in, Paul, I was at Fan Day, and we was down on the field, you know, getting autographs and stuff, and there was a big line. I guess it was Nick Saban's line, so there just wasn't enough time, so I just went and got, like, C.J. Mosley and some defensive players' autograph. But I was in line, and this guy was talking to me. We was talking about Paul Finebaum, and he said he's called your show before. I can't remember his name. I think he said he called in once, and he said asked me if I listened to it. I said, yeah, I actually called in a few times. Well, then this guy came by through here with a camera, and this guy said, hey, this guy's calling on Paul Finebaum's show. He said, which one? I said, Joe from Red Bay. He said, and that's how they ended up putting me on there.
Oh, wow, that is cool. I didn't know that.
They were just asking about, they was asking about Alabama football and how long I've been a fan and stuff like that. But, yeah, it was pretty cool. But, you know, right now, you know, you got snow, too, but not now. I didn't cook it. A friend brought me by some deer stew, and his wife made some cornbread to go with it. So that's what I'm having for supper tonight. So
well, you take care of yourself, Hanson. Be safe, because there is bad weather a lot of different places, probably including St. Louis. Sean is up next.
Oh, yeah. You know, school was canceled today, so I'm able to call in. So, yeah.
What's up, Sean?
Yeah, what's up? I saw Jeff from Ohio on. He was on the Zoom call. I actually think that's pretty cool, the Zoom call things. I'll have to try that sometime. But I saw he was wearing a Lions sweatshirt or something like that.
Yeah, he's a Michigan fan. I guess he's from Michigan. That's why he went with the Lions.
Right, I didn't know that. I'm a huge Lions fan. I've been a Lions fan for at least 7 years now, and
Well, Sean, you're
I
only
thought that was pretty cool.
you're only 16, aren't you, or 15?
15, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how long could
Well,
you be a fan?
Well, I was 8, so I can still be a fan when I'm 8.
I know. Just giving you a
anyways,
hard time. Hey, by the way, so what's going on with you right now? Are you playing any sports?
Yeah, baseball season's coming up, the best season of all, and I can't wait, and hopefully I can, get on the team.
What's your position?
Center field.
Center field. That's a tough position.
But yeah, it is. But anyways, I saw, John was calling, and I actually really like this call. He talked about Mizzou basketball. That's what I wanted to talk about. I've heard a lot of people compare this year with 2022. Personally, I feel like you can't do that because in 2025 we can beat any team. Right now, we can go out and beat Alabama today, and it wouldn't be a surprise because it's just with Caleb Grill and Tamar Bates as a duo. It's like it's something I've never seen as a Mizzou fan, especially when it comes to basketball. And I'm really excited to see what we can do tonight. And yeah.
Hey, listen, we'll all be watching. Sean, great to hear from you again. Don't be a stranger. We're up against the break. We have 30 minutes remaining. Busy show. A lot of news out there, most of it from New Orleans. Basketball conversation as well. We had Chris Jans on. We are back after this.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
A lot happening tonight. How about Vandy in Kentucky? And then what about Alabama going to Missouri? John from St. Louis covering the game for us live from Missouri. Who better to bring a smile to your eyes than Cat Daddy?
Big Paul, looking good, sounding good as always. Thanks for taking my call. Junior came in, and after our conversation last night about how the NIL and the lawyers and the college football and all this junk going on now, and he asked a question. I said, call Mr. Finebaum and ask him this. Are the bowl systems over unless the college football playoff people use the bowls to play the games?
Well, tell Junior the bowl system is still around, but with every additional game, it makes the bowls less important. There'll still be bowl games, but what used to be maybe the second tier is now moved down to the third or fourth tier. So you're getting a lot of teams who have already fired their coach, 500 records, and I think the bowl system is about to become an endangered species.
Well, it sure is changing, Mr. Finebaum, a lot quicker than I thought. I kind of like the old days, and when the end of the season was over, the AP and the UCI all complained. They all choose who they thought was number one, but I don't know.
You're right. When my career started, going to any bowl game was like a big deal because there were so few, but now there are so many that they have been devalued. Thank you for the call. Morgan in Maryland on this cold winter night. Hello, Morgan.
Hey, Paul. How are you this evening?
We are doing great. Thank you.
Oh, I know my wife is not listening to this show, so I will confide in you on this cold winter night, as you shared. If I could click my heels and be anywhere, I'd be with the family of Handsome Joe with a steaming bowl of deer stew and some of his wife's cornbread.
Ooh. I don't even eat a lot of cornbread, but I might chomp down one or two sticks there.
I mean, if we had you there, we'd just sit up all night right there, eating deer stew and cornbread.
Bring out the moonshine and let the good times roll.
Hey, I was recently up in Newport. I've got some family that lives in what they call South County, Rhode Island, and we went into Newport and goofed off, went to a party, and if you find yourself up there again and you've got an hour or so to burn, there is a vintage car museum called Audrains, Audrains. It's right next to the tennis Hall of Fame up on the top of the hill.
I mean, we must have walked by that 10 times.
We must have walked by it. It's small. They usually have maybe a dozen or 15 cars. They rotate the stock every 2 or 3 times a year. It is spectacular.
We stayed on the other side. We stayed at the Chandler, which is right by the cliff walk. And I mean, we walked down to the pier. I mean, it was really a fun time. It was one of my favorite trips we've had in a long time.
If you visit in July and August when the heat down south is just beating your brains in, it is so refreshing. You throw a cotton sweater on, you got a nice drink, 60 degrees, no humidity. That's the time to go.
Hey, Morgan, you'll be able to relate to this. So I was there July 4th. The very next week, the temperature I mentioned was dipping into the 50s and 60s. The next week, I'm walking around in a suit, sweating, barely able to breathe. Guess where I was? I was right outside the White House. Does that ring a bell?
No kidding. I'm sitting on the Beltway right now.
Yeah, no, there's nothing quite like the humidity in the Capitol on a hot July day.
Well, it's an open invitation, Paul. You give me just a wee minute's notice, and we will show you some off the beaten path nooks and crannies of Washington,
I would
D.C.,
love it.
And we will have a fun time doing it.
I spent, as I alluded to, maybe the first time we talked, I spent a lot of time as a kid, not as an adult, in Rockville, Silver Springs, Bethesda, the whole routine. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I've been back to that area, though, in a long time. I had a friend who was in Virginia that I went to see a summer ago, but I will definitely let you. I'm usually up there every summer for something, so I'll let you know.
One of my cousins went on one of those genealogy websites and traced our family history in the District of Columbia back 7 generations, and then the trail started to get cold. But, working class citizens living on Capitol Hill and Tenleytown and Georgetown, and my great-great-great-grandfather ran a post office, and his father was a blacksmith, and again, working class DC, and it's just it's an incredible city to grow up in. It's fun, and I'll wrap up. I have to give you a little bit of a hard time when earlier in the call you mentioned Maryville, Tennessee. Do you recall saying that, Paul?
I know that is not the local pronunciation of it's Maryville.
Amen. Thank you, and that's one syllable.
Yeah,
it's one syllable. Are we in agreement?
I mean,
Maryville.
Morgan, I only lived there 4 years, and I don't want to sound like a snob because I'm from Tennessee, but I never quite got that East Tennessee dialect down.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, Paul. Thank you for a wonderful show.
You bet. Great to talk to you. And let's check out AJ from Pell City.
Mr. Finebaum, I did not know you were a comedian because you made a statement earlier in the first hour to Fat Neck Chris from South Carolina saying that Clemson had a chance to win the national championship in football this year.
I'm going on tour this spring and summer. I was just working some of the material out. That one will not be in the monologue.
That's right. Hey, speaking of a comedian, Bash over there he's retired his comic stage life, and he's become the most annoying voice on the Paul Finebaum show. I don't know if he's serving you up those special gummies that he's got, so you're making predictions on Clemson. But I will tell you that tonight you got the Battle of the Losers. I did a genealogy trace back like the gentleman before just called, and I looked up, and Auburn is John from Missouri's daddy and Bash Brothers' daddy. So I just want to tell both of them. Oh, and I forgot. John, I'm going to tell you something. You know, you call in here like 10 times a day. You make the same call all 10 times. They all suck, just like your team does. And on top of that, you're so inconsiderate. Quite frankly, you're an imbecile. You're extremely arrogant. You really are not very knowledgeable. But on top of that, you sit there and make these people wait, and there's the ambulance right there going to pick him up. But no, he sits there and he waits on. He makes people wait, you know. And I mean, you know, calm some of those calls down because 9% of them suck. I mean, 9 out of 10 of them suck, John. And just like your team tonight, I'm actually going to be pulling for Alabama. War damn Eagle.
John is next.
Paul, I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to respond to AJ. That's a whole nother issue, but I was going to comment about it's good to hear from Sean from St. Louis. Sean, you know, you bring a lot to the party here, and don't stay away. I think you're very knowledgeable, and we're all of us, as Paul, I think you would agree, SEC Nation, we hope you're doing really good with your basketball or soccer team, and keep us in the loop here, Sean. With that said, Paul, go Tigers, and we'll see what happens tonight. I'm going to be nice here, Paul. Over and out.
We're so glad. A happy John. How long will that last? Quick break. Back with the final minutes on this Wednesday night.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Get ready for some basketball. Jason Edwards has had a big year for Vanderbilt. On the other side, they're ready as well. This game is in Rupp. Vanderbilt beat them the first time around. Let's continue with more phone calls, and Pete is up next in Colorado. Hello, Pete.
Hey, Paul. How are you, man?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Hey, good. Hey, big Longhorn fan right here, and have just been watching the show the last 3 days, so my wife's like, "You're calling into a show?" I'm like, "Yes, sir." "Yes, ma'am." I mean, "Yes, ma'am." So,
great.
Hey, I just wanted to check, big Longhorn fan, Mac Brown days, Major Applewhite days. Growing up, my aunt took me to a Cotton Bowl, and I've never been the same. So I'm curious, your thoughts. Cooper just came out recently and said, Arch is not going to be as good as everybody says, which is interesting, obviously, just probably level setting. I'm curious about your thoughts with how good will Arch be, because Vegas has him winning the Heisman. And the follow-up to that is, what do you think, man, I need me a national championship, man. Vince Young running into the right end of the end zone, confetti coming down, me being at the Rose Bowl. I miss those days. So tell me what you think timeline is of when Texas would win one.
I mean, I think this season is a possibility. I understand a father wanting to tamp down expectations, but it's not going to work. The expectations are going to be as wild as we've ever seen, or at least since Manziel or Tim Tebow, and maybe worse because of the current state of the media with social media and everything. And listen, I don't claim to know Arch Manning. I know everybody else in his family. I talked to his grandfather recently when we were in New Orleans, and I think there's never been a player more prepared and ready for what he is about to face. Starting at Ohio State, some might look at it as a burden. I think he looks at it as an opportunity, and I think there's a lot lost from last year's team, but I frankly feel better at quarterback than having Quinn Ewers.